All right, here, folks. I'm trying it again. We can go straight to statements by members. So we can see if it works out better this round now that it's passed. I'm pretty sure it will work as the person. It seemed. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It just wasn't getting the. I did a bunch of changes and stuff, and I think the other. We'll see. We'll see at least for a bit, right? Better to do it twice than not great once.
Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the finance minister met with major grocers promising to stabilize food prices. Since then, Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation. Yeah. Now he's rolling out another temporary rebate, about $5 a week for a $300 grocery bill. Sure, you'll take it, but it barely makes a dent. Meanwhile, according to Food Banks Canada, almost 20% of food bank clients are not employed full-time. Food inflation is now hitting working Canadians hard. Food inflation is now twice as high as when this Prime Minister took office. Local food banks in my riding are feeling it too. The Wheatland County Food Bank reported record demand in 2025, the highest numbers they've ever seen. The Liberals can blame global factors all they want, but the reality is their fuel standards add 7 cents a litre today, 17 tomorrow, and that hits farmers, truckers, and the cost of food for every family. You would think Liberals would stop obstructing common sense solutions and actually cut the cost of food.
The honourable member for London West.
Speaker, this week we mark International Development Week, a time to recognize the people and partnership that help build a safer, healthier, and more prosperous world. At a time when the world is facing growing conflict, humanitarian crises, climate change, and economic uncertainty, international development work is more important than ever. I want to thank Canadians working across the international development sector in NGOs, multilateral institutions, community organizations, and public service who dedicate their skills and compassion to improve the lives of those around the globe. Their work support women and girls, strengthen health and education systems, respond to emergencies, and helps communities build resilience in the face of instability and poverty. Often working in difficult and uncertain conditions, they reflect the best of Canada's values, cooperation, respect, and shared humanity. International development is all about partnership, dignity, and long-term impact, and remains essential to building a more stable and connected world for all of us. So on behalf of this House, I want to thank them for their commitment and their service. Thank you for your work.
The honourable member for Battle River Copa.
Over the weekend, I had a heartbreaking conversation with Crew-Allen Halmagen, a friend of mine who had just learned of the loss of his heroic son, Gunner Sebastian Halmagen. Since Confederation, countless Canadians have answered their nation's call to serve, sacrifice, and all too often to never come home. Prime Minister Borden, speaking in 1916, remarked, and I quote, "On the solemn truth that the nation is not constituted of the living alone, there are those as well who have passed away and those yet to be born. So this responsibility comes to us as heirs of the past and trustees of the future." Sebastian told his father, who shared with me, that he wanted every young person to know that sacrifice and commitment to the Canadian Armed Forces was noble and worthy. I want to thank him for his service and his ultimate sacrifice. Offer my prayers and love to his wonderful family. And on behalf of all parliamentarians, say that we will never forget what he gave us.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today, as a part of Black History Month, we are celebrating the history of Black people, their resilience, and their important contributions to Canadian society. In Bourassa, this is an everyday reality because we have a significant Haitian population in our riding. This solidarity and their contributions enrich my riding and my colleagues' ridings too. For generations now, Black women and men in Canada have contributed to all walks of life, to all spheres. They strengthen our social fabric and they make us a more welcoming and inclusive country. Black History Month is a time to remember, but it's also a time to be proud and a time of recognition. This reminds us that diversity is a source of strength for Canada. Mr. Speaker, beyond our differences, beyond where we come from, we are one people united by the values of respect, dignity, and solidarity. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This is a heated one.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians
Big time
need hope. Hope for affordable groceries. Since this Prime Minister took office, he has promised to be judged by grocery store prices. Costs are rising twice as fast amongst the other G7 countries, and I asked the Prime Minister why. It's because of our weak dollar, he said, but he needs to protect it. Can the Prime Minister explain why he gave us a weak dollar and expensive groceries? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote the Leader of the Opposition from 26. He invited his colleagues to turn this rhetoric into reality. We see obstruction right now. Canadians asked us to present a plan to grow the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker, to protect Canada's sovereignty and to ensure that Canadian families, our seniors, the young people, have a promising future, Mr. Speaker. Can the Leader of the Opposition, will he support the government to pass
I hope they go
budget?
fast and they start raising tariffs to help building Canadians. But
rather than quoting people, he, in 2023, said that he would stabilize grocery prices before Thanksgiving. Now, it's been more than 2 years, and grocery prices are rising twice as much. We have the worst food inflation amongst the other G7 countries, and this finance minister who caused these issues, he's still in power. Why does the Prime Minister continue with these taxes and inflationary deficits? And why is he depriving Canadians of affordable food? The Honourable Minister, Mr. Speaker, allow me
sorry, I'm excited.
to help the Leader of the Opposition. He wrote in 2026 that it's time to leave rhetoric aside and to look at the reality of the situation. I know that the Leader of the Opposition was very concerned about his own future at the time, but if he saw the measure we announced to ensure food stability, there'll be a benefit that will help families. There'll be $500 million to have more food, and more importantly, he has the opportunity to support the government to help Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Under this Liberal government and under that particular minister, auto production has fallen by half. The Prime Minister was elected promising that he would protect the auto industry and get a deal with the U.S. by July 21st. He broke both of those promises, and since there have been job losses at Cami Ingersoll, GM Oshawa, Stellantis Brampton, and Pacao au Quebec. Mr. Speaker, today he finally flip-flopped on his cherished EV mandate, but is bringing in a new subsidy for people to buy American-made automobiles. Why is he forcing Canadian workers to pay taxes to subsidize American vehicles?
Yeah, they should put that in there. A little clause that says Canadian-made.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
I know it's Thursday, but I have good news for the Leader of the Opposition. I have very good news for him, and I have good news for Canadian. It's called the Canada Auto Strategy, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the Prime Minister of Canada today was standing up for Canadian workers, for Canadian industry, for the future of the industry in this country. They can yell as much as they want on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, but the workers know what we have done for them. They know what we're doing today and what we're going to do in the future. Mr. Speaker, we'll build Canada strong.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that minister was in charge of industrial policies, the Minister of Industry, while automobile production fell in Canada by half. And now under this Prime Minister, we've lost 5,000 more auto jobs. Here's the deal that he's announced today. The American president will continue to tariff Canadian-made automobiles going into the U.S., while Canadian taxpayers will be forced to subsidize American vehicles coming back into Canada. Instead of subsidizing American vehicles and killing Canadian jobs, why not take our plan to take the GST off Canadian-made automobiles?
The Honourable
That's a
Minister
nice
of
one.
Finance.
GST off
Mr.
Canadian.
Speaker, I will tell him that under my watch, for the first time in Canadian history, we brought a European manufacturer to invest in our country, Mr. Speaker. It's called Volkswagen. It's called St. Thomas. It's called the car of the future, Mr. Speaker. Volkswagen has invested a record amount in Canada, Mr. Speaker. They can yell as much as they want, but the people in St. Thomas know who did it. They know what we're doing today, and they know we're going to support our worker, our industry, and the auto sector in this country, Mr. Speaker. Let them continue to criticize.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he's literally yelling for us to stop yelling. This is an example of the Liberal illusion. The Prime Minister has put in charge of finance the industry minister who's responsible for auto production in Canada falling by half. Wow. And the present collapse of auto production and jobs in our country. Now, the Prime Minister broke his promise to negotiate a deal with the U.S., and now he wants to subsidize U.S.-made vehicles. Why not take taxes off Canadian-made vehicles so that we can bring home jobs to our country?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I don't need to speak loud because Canadians know what we did. If he wants to look at what we did under my watch, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, I should have done that first. I just want to pause it for a second and reiterate what Pierre's saying. He's saying, first of all, there's $5,000 in the new plan. The EV plan is scrapped, so no 60% of the vehicles have to be EV and 100% by 2030 or whatever. Gone. Okay. 2. Let me think here. So he said basically those $5,000. That $5,000 for EVs and $2,500 for hybrids will go to American-made vehicles. American-made vehicles. While we're at kind of a trade war, which he's saying that don't make much sense. They should be Canadian-made vehicles. And I agree with that. Hey, if we're going to give out an incentive, there ain't much. It ain't much. But if $5,000 for Canadian-made vehicles and alternative vehicles. There's like newer cities and stuff like that can do it more. You know, they build a larger sidewalks for these electric vehicles. They're like basically golf cart cars and these things. A lot of people can use this as basically to get their groceries and do the small, what they used to call the grocery car. I know it'll be really hurting the market. But those companies are going to be the companies that are going to make the jetpack. They're going to be huge in time. And if we don't do it, it's already happening in China. I think that we should be doing something with these smaller EVs that they're a bit of a headache. Of course, yes, you know what I mean? There's people who are driving a little frantically with them. Anyway, I digress. But so he said he wanted that. And then the other one was the Canadian. He mentioned take the GST off of Canadian-made vehicles. That sounds like a good idea. That's something that I think Francois Philippe Champagne, he should have thought we're going to think about it. That was a good idea. That was a decent suggestion. I wish your rhetoric was more smooth or something. And then give him that, you know what I mean? Say, yeah, good, and then do a little zinger. That's what I think he could have done with that one. because they're decent. They're like, we will look into that suggestion because they were decent. I think because why are we giving $5,000 off to Chinese-made vehicles? Because we know every vehicle that's coming from China is EV. So there's 50,000 vehicles coming a year now, and they're going up to 100,000 that are going to be Chinese, and they're going to get subsidized when they're already dumping. We don't know if it's going to happen yet, but most likely, like what's happening in Europe, they're going to sell vehicles at ours at a lower cost because they overproduced in China, and they're just going to sell them. You know what I mean? So they sell them at a reduced cost because they're going to, you know what I mean, sit in their warehouse and be a problematic anyway. So subsidizing Chinese and he said American vehicles is not a great idea, right? Only Canadian. I think that's a good plan. Only Canadian vehicles that are EV. And cut the GST off of every Canadian vehicle. These are two small things, like incomes for the tax. First of all, it'll lower the amount of money that they'll have to put out for, you know what I mean, the EVs, because, there's only so many Canadian EVs that are made in Canada. And two, it'll only, and the GST one, Canadian-made vehicles. It just helps. These are things to help our country. We have to start building our working class, the middle class again, or else we're like I keep saying it. I don't want to get into depressed, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, and it's going to become a place where the middle class doesn't care, and if the middle class don't care, well, that's a lot of people who, you know what I mean, you're going to have to start controlling, and it won't happen. 7 cops were just arrested. The first time, of this level of crime.
Let him talk about Windsor, Mr. Speaker, and about Nexstar.
7
what we
plus
did,
1
Mr.
retired.
Speaker, is to see where the puck is going. That is truly Canadian. Making sure that we build the auto sector of today, but the auto sector of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. We understood, and not even just Canadian. Bloomberg said that Canada would have the most complete supply chain when it comes to EV, Mr. Speaker. We are proud of our record. We are proud to invest in Canadian workers, and we'll build the industry of the future together.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Bloomberg just said that the economy in Canada is shrinking under that minister and this prime minister, but from failed economic Liberal policy to failed immigration Liberal policy, Liberals have unleashed an extortion crisis by allowing Bishnoi gangsters into our country without screening. Now, they are allowing them to stay here by even after they're convicted if they make a phony refugee claim. Conservatives moved a motion at committee to kick extortionists out of our country after they've been convicted. Liberals voted it down. Wow. Will they join with us, stop obstructing, pass an amendment to the law so that we can kick extortionists and fake refugee claimants out of Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to extortion, the Conservatives have been uniquely unhelpful in advancing the laws that police are telling us they need to combat extortion. I received a message this morning from Patrick Brown, the Mayor of Brampton, saying that the Peel Regional Police have asked him to pass along the message that the Strong Borders Act is necessary to provide lawful access to help law enforcement break up extortion rings. Mr. Speaker, for months they have obstructed measures that were going to make bail and sentencing tougher on extortionists. It's one thing to stand up and make noise in the House of Commons. It's another to get the laws adopted. Let's do the job committee's demand.
10 random chapters. Always be closed, ABC.
Mr. Speaker, some retirees have not received their old age pensions for 9 months. Civil servants warned the government last summer that this was due to Curam. But the Liberals didn't listen to the public servants. They gagged them. And the government's instructions to the civil servants was to absolutely not tell people that the delays or payment errors are because of Curam. Instead of attacking whistleblowers, why doesn't the government help retirees? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Department is doing everything it can to rapidly solve the issues. This includes enhancing training so that personnel is able to deal with requests faster. There are positive signs are showing that this training is paying off. Our Bureau contacted the member across the way to see if they have any urgent cases. and I would ask them to contact me so we can respond. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquet-Angers. Mr. Speaker, there are seniors who are not receiving their old age pensions, and instead of helping them, the Liberals are trying to protect themselves. It's extremely worrisome because the same Curem system is experiencing problems with the payment of old age and also EI and the federal pension plan. By minimizing the problems instead of solving them, the Liberals are creating the perfect conditions for a storm that would make Phoenix look like a simple storm. When are they going to fix the problems instead of intimidating public servants? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Our government is protecting seniors. We are offering dental care, enhanced OAS, and lodging for seniors. We're modernizing the digital and benefit system. And I would ask the member across the way to give me the names of these people, and we will help them. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, quite frankly, one wonders if the Minister reads French language media, because if she did, she would stop downplaying the problems of retirees who are not receiving their old age pensions. And if so, they would know that civil servants have resorted to acting as whistleblowers because they're so fed up with being silenced instead of being helped. Enough is enough. There are errors in pensions because of the Curem software. All civil servants are saying so, and the Liberals seem to be putting more energy into covering up the problem rather than solving it. When are they going to take action? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I do read French language medium, but I also work in English and in French, like many people in this House.
Mr. Speaker, we have focused all our resources on making sure that we get through the waiting list. Mr. Speaker, it is shrinking every day. I thank the civil service, by the way, for taking the effort to learn this system and learn it well. And as I mentioned, we've been in contact with these members of Parliament. If they have urgent cases, please send them to me. We haven't received any names yet.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
3 years ago, the Finance Minister promised to stabilize food prices, and he did, at record highs. Canada now has the worst food inflation in the G7, twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office and twice as high as the U.S. And now the Minister offers another temporary rebate that won't lower the price of a single item, while admitting his so-called historic summit that he got CEOs to come to Ottawa for was a failure. They voted against our common sense motion yesterday to lower food costs. Why won't they just take off the taxes off of food?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
The real question, Mr. Speaker, is why won't the Conservatives vote for the plan, the Prime Minister's plan, the Prime Minister's economic plan, the one that gets projects built quickly, that puts $1 trillion of investment into our economy, that uses Canadian lumber, Canadian steel, Canadian ingenuity, and the great union work of Canadian brothers and sisters to build our country strong? When, I just want a date from the Honourable Member, when will they pass the Budget Implementation Act, the Prime Minister's plan to build Canada?
The Honourable
He's been fire of late, I gotta admit.
Speaker, my colleague knows that I'm talking about a grocery plan, but it doesn't actually lower the price of groceries. It's a $10 coupon on a $300 grocery bill, and it's insulting. And the rebate won't lower a single price. That's, of course, after they put forward a budget, which this wasn't even in. Meanwhile, they keep hiking the fuel taxes, the packaging taxes, driving food costs higher, and blaming everyone else and their decade of failure for it. Why won't they lower the prices? If they won't do that, why won't they take the taxes off of food?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, you know what's insulting to the constituents of Thornhill? When that member votes against the very things that they themselves are saying are useful. In fact, not just her constituents, but certainly the food banks in her riding would say that the announcement the Prime Minister made on the GST, on the essentials benefit, and on strengthening our food security, and on supporting food banks, and on supporting producers is exactly what we need to do for food security in this country. She needs to get on board board and stop voting against the very constituents you represent.
The honourable member for Calgary-Midnapore.
The Prime Minister is doing everything possible to ignore the reality that Canadians are facing in their daily lives. Food inflation in Canada is twice as high as it is in the United States, and the temporary measures that the Liberals are offering will not result in a single grocery price reduction. They had an opportunity to collaborate yesterday and pass our motion, which would have lowered prices at the grocery store, but they voted against it. Yep. Why is it that the Prime Minister's personal agenda always comes before the needs of everyday Canadians?
Good question.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Speaker, we have a Prime Minister with world-class business and economic experience. We've cut taxes for millions of Canadians. And just last week, we announced a groceries and essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. The Conservative leader has never had a job in the economy. He continues to obstruct. He continues to talk rhetoric. It's time for that leader to get on board, help us build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
A member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Well, this Prime Minister is traveling around the world and making big speeches, but what is he really achieving for Canadians? Food inflation is twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office, and Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation. The Prime Minister promised to be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Yesterday, Conservatives tried to help by presenting a real solution to lower grocery prices for Canadians, yet the Liberals voted against this common sense motion. So will the Prime Minister now eat his words because Canadians can't? Wow.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what the Prime Minister is doing is creating investment in Canada, investment that has made it such that Canada created more jobs than the United States. Not more per capita, not more per capita, more jobs than the United States. This Prime Minister, I hope he keeps traveling and bringing home those jobs, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Abbotsford.
U.A.E, Qatar, Turkey,
Mr. Speaker, Canada leads the G7 in food inflation. Prices are rising twice as fast as in the United States, and yesterday the Liberals voted against the Conservative plan to lower food costs. The industrial carbon tax is driving up costs for farm machinery, for fertilizers, and for food processors. When you tax the farmer, you tax every Canadian. When will the Liberals work with us to cut this unnecessary industrial carbon tax and the 17 cents a litre fuel standard tax that are driving up grocery prices?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague from British Columbia is asking a question about something that's incredibly important to all Canadians. And you know what? This government has taken steps to address this. We are introducing the groceries and essentials benefit, which is going to put money in the pockets of families so that they can acquire the things that they need. A family of 4 will receive up to $1,890 this year and $1,400 for the next 4 years. We're taking action to support the families in BC.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, we know that since the Liberals have come to power, grocery prices are up, the cost of living is up, and for a single-parent family, it's harder for them to pay for rent. Can the Prime Minister confirm that all the members of the Cabinet agree with the idea of personally helping vulnerable people to have access to affordable housing? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, it's important to take account of the needs of our constituents, and the strategy we're adopting is one that's based on giving back purchasing power to Canadians, and that's essentially what we're focusing on. For us, it's important, but in this strategy, there are food strategies, there are also job creation strategies, and we also need the cooperation from the opposition, not obstruction. Thank you. Just to specify, I won't be voting personally. Well, the Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, I think my colleague across the way did not hear the news, but in the Journal de Montréal this morning, we learned that a single-parent mother is being kicked out of her housing, and this member realize that she's showing a lack of empathy and morals? Honorable Government House Leader, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if this has any relationship with anything to do with our government administration. The Honorable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals should never have cancelled the incentives for the purchase of EVs. So it's good news that they're being reinstated for vehicles manufactured here or in countries with which we have free trade agreements like Europe. But the problem is that the federal government is blocking affordable EVs from Europe. Ottawa has decided that these cars, which are good for everyone else on the planet, are not good enough for Canada. Will the government offer people a choice by allowing European electric cars?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the contrary, we welcome these EVs because our rebate applies as part of the free trade agreement, including that with Europe. So our auto strategy includes a lot of incentives to attract people to increase our future in electric vehicles in Canada. That's exactly what our policy is doing. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, reinstating incentives for the purchase of EVs is a small step forward, but it still doesn't erase the Liberals' setbacks and bringing EVs in. It won't lead to lasting mobility. They cut $5 billion from the public transit fund while subsidizing oil companies to the tune of tens of billions. They're also agreeing with Alberta to build a new dirty oil pipeline, even as they claim to be promoting electric transportation. Why is it that when it comes to the Liberals, they take one step forward but 1,000 steps backward?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate my colleague's question. But once again, it's the opposite. Our announcement today includes a national network for EVs with an investment of $1.5 billion. So this is a national project which includes Quebec to welcome this green future and EVs in our country.
The Honourable Member for Parry-Sound-Muskoka.
New home sales in the GTA have fallen to their lowest level in 45 years, putting 100,000 jobs at risk. Home ownership among 30 to 34-year-olds has dropped from 62% to 52%. Young Canadians are losing hope. 93% of Gen Z and millennials are worried about housing, and nearly half of them are planning to leave their home communities. The Prime Minister promised to help Canadians buy their first home. So after nearly a decade, why are sales collapsing, builders laying off workers, and ownership is getting further and further out of reach?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's a good day to be asking that question. We've introduced the Build Canada Homes Act this morning. Precisely, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that young Canadians have access to affordable housing going forward. We've dedicated $13 billion in the budget. We need the support of members in this House to pass that budget to invest in young Canadians. We need the support. We don't need obstruction on the Build Canada Homes Act to make sure we have a lean, mean agency to deliver that funding to young Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Parry-Sound-Muskoka.
Well, I guess we shouldn't be surprised that the minister is talking about his Build Canada Rentals project, but home ownership is what's collapsing. In 2020, 69% of starts were for ownership. Today, it's 49%. New home sales are down 45% in the GTA, and builders are laying off workers. So it's a very simple question to the minister. Does he really, truly believe that creating a fourth federal housing bureaucracy without reducing taxes or fees or all the approval delays will really make it easier for Canadians to buy their first home?
Yes or no? The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm concerned that the member opposite doesn't care about renters. In my city, half of the population rents housing. And certainly we do not discriminate against those who choose to buy or rent. Many Canadians don't have a choice. That's why we have to
They're not choosing. They can't afford
possible for all Canadians. make sure they have a safe home. We don't need any delays in this House to the budget.
Okay, here's the news release that came out. Oh, okay, I did that. Oh, yeah, here's the news release that came out today. This Build Canada Homes Act. Excuse me here. Apple cider. Okay, here. Just give me a second. Pick up my computer. The Government of Canada introduces the Build Canada Homes Act. From Housing Infrastructure in Communities Canada. Okay, today, February 5th. Since launching in September, Build Canada Homes has already advanced 6 direct build projects in Dartmouth, Longueuil, Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. And secured 4 major partnerships with the City of Ottawa, the provinces of Nova Scotia, and Quebec, and a tripartite agreement with Nunavut and Nunavut-Tungavit Incorporated. Together, these initiatives represented more than 7,500 new homes. 7,500 new homes. It's actually quite a bit. Today, the government, we need, I think, 120. Today, the Government of Canada introduced the Build Canada Homes. So that's the past. Today is Build Canada Homes Act, legislation that will establish Build Canada Homes as a Crown corporation whose mandate will be dedicated to building affordable housing in communities across the country. As Canada's affordable housing builder, this legislation will equip Build Canada Homes with the necessary tools to build more affordable homes, faster and more efficiently with modern methods of construction. Building homes with that span across housing needs, from supportive housing to homes for young Canadians and seniors wanting to age in the communities they live in. Build Canada Homes will deliver the affordable housing we need. With this mission, Build Canada Homes will drive home building innovation and demand for domestic industries. Every new home means more demand for Canadian lumber, steel, and aluminum. Okay, so what it's doing, it's giving more tools, don't know what they are yet, to build more affordable homes to this to Build Canada Homes. Okay, Build Canada Homes will champion government of Canada's Buy Canada policy by prioritizing projects that use sustainable Canadian materials, strengthen Canadian supply chains, and create good jobs at every step of the home building process. Working in partnership with nonprofits, Indigenous organizations, and private developers, and all orders of government, Build Canada Homes aims to maximize every federal dollar to accelerate the delivery of the housing we need in Canada. As a Crown corporation dedicated to building affordable homes in all provinces and territories, Build Canada Homes will become the federal government's permanent affordable housing builder, working to solve today's challenges and to build affordable housing in communities across Canada for generations to come. Okay, so there's all these quotes. It didn't say anything. It's gonna basically they're gonna do another section of Build Canada Homes and of doesn't say really what they're doing. I don't know really, to be honest, but it's going to build other homes that are, affordable. That's nice. I don't know. It doesn't say how much money. But launched in September 14th, Build Canada Homes became Canada's new federal agency focused on the construction of more affordable housing across Canada by leveraging public lands, deploying flexible financial tools, and acting as a driver for modern methods of construction. Build Canada Homes is creating a more productive, innovative, and sustainable home building sector. Build Canada Homes will continue to operate as a special operating agency until the Act receives both royal assent and the Crown Corporation is operational. In parallel, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation will continue to focus on commercial solutions to support the housing system, including through the existing programs like the Apartment Construction Loan Program and mortgage insurance products. Investors. This is going to help investors, and I don't see that I need to see the whole bill. It was a lot. I don't want to be critical, because I hope it will work. But I'm going to read it again while this person says, and I'll have another something to say.
Support of the Build Canada Homes Act. We need to deliver affordable housing for Canadians. I hope the member will support us on our bill.
Honourable member for Flamborough, Glanbrook, Brant North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A new report from the Missing Middle Initiative warns of a lost decade for home ownership. For every 100 new adults, there will be only 12 housing starts intended for ownership. Nearly half of young Canadians say they've considered leaving their city or province because of housing costs. Now the market is seizing up. New home sales in the GTA have hit a 45-year low, putting 100,000 jobs at risk. Builders are laying off workers and fear they may not survive. When will the Liberals adopt our plan to get their...
Okay. So really all it is today their act is a legislation that will establish Build Canada Homes as a Crown Corporation, whose mandate will be dedicated to building affordable housing in communities across the country. So it's another layer. This was like 70s it stopped, so I get this. I get the idea of making this thing, but it's just more lawyers and stuff. I don't know who's on the board. It doesn't say anything like that, but most likely it'll be people who are board members of 50 other companies will be put on this board, and they'll get paid very well. And I honestly don't. I think it will work. 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. It'll be a good thing to be refocusing back on Canadian low-income homes. However, it seems to be. It says it's the only thing that this legislation, this new, monstrosity, which I said 5-10 years. Lawyers, they take so long to get anything done. They parse out every word, and it's very very not fun. The necessary tools to build more affordable homes faster and more efficiently with modern methods of construction. Building homes that span across the housing needs, from supportive housing for young Canadians to seniors. So this is all fluff. That means that it'll deliver affordable housing we need. Its mission is to do that. How are they going to do that? They're going to use Canadian stuff. That's great. They're going to use partial Canadian land. That's great. But basically, this is just formalizing a year later, formalizing the initial plan of starting a new agency for home building, which we kind of should have in Canada for low income, because we can't rely, as we've proven, when we have large influxes of population growth. It could be from our own and this and that. There has to be an agency that looks into housing, that's focused on it. It just made no sense that there wasn't one. To keep housing at a reasonable price, because you can't rely on the industry. Industry wants the housing as high as they can get, of course. So this is going to, I don't know. We don't know what their tools are, and he did mention $13 billion. So that'll go into, is it going to go into directly in it, or is it going to go into setting up this new thing, this new body, I'll call it. So It's a trickle. It's formalizing what they've already started.
Bureaucracy out of the way.
It's not speeds not unseen, never seen.
So young Canadians can buy.
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it is critical that we build housing in the GTA that is affordable. We want to get the industry back building affordable housing for Canadians, certainly in the GTA, but across the country. We're seeing good housing starts in many cities across the country, but we're just getting started with affordability. And we need to deliver with members around this House on the Build Canada Homes Act. No obstruction. Let's get to building.
Hear, hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, young Canadians are being locked out from home ownership. Home ownership is collapsing. For 30 to 34-year-olds, it fell from 60% to 52%. Supply is broken. For every 100 new adults, only 12 ownership homes are built. Sales are crashing, down 45% in the GTA, down 56% in Vancouver. Builders are laying off workers. 100,000 jobs are at risk. 93% of young Canadians are worried. When will the Liberals adopt our plans and get out of the way so young Canadians can buy their first home?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we have good news for this House. Just today, we tabled the Build Canada Homes Act, and we are hopeful that the Conservatives will not obstruct this bill, as they've been doing with our budget that provides more affordability measures to Canadians so that they can have that dream of buying their first home, so that they can live in affordable housing. That is the dream of all Bramptonians. That is what I hear from my constituents, and this act will help us meet those goals, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Red Deer.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal housing crisis is hitting communities of every size. The City of Red Deer has been asking for a meeting with the Housing Minister for months to address their housing concerns. And despite writing to him 4 times, it seems like Red Deer is too small for the Minister to care to respond. I sure hope Red Deer isn't being ignored because it doesn't deliver Liberal votes like Toronto and Vancouver. Will the Minister finally agree to sit down with the City of Red Deer and listen to their issues and admit that mid-sized cities are facing a housing crisis too?
The Honourable Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, once again, Conservatives in Ottawa are out of step with Conservatives in Alberta. Alberta's Minister of Social Services has praised the pace of housing delivery, saying we're getting shovels in the ground and roofs over the head of Albertans. Thousands more low-income Albertans will have a safe, durable house, affordable house that they can count on. Federal Conservatives say they want to work with us, but they can't even work with their own Conservative colleagues on delivering housing for Albertans.
The Honourable Member for Mississauga East, Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, the auto sector is facing the biggest challenge in a generation. Unjustified and unjustifiable tariffs from the United States on our auto sector is leaving our auto workers under a cloud of uncertainty. Our government stands behind our auto sector, behind our communities, and the workers that are facing these new realities head-on. Can the Minister of Jobs and Families please tell this House how the newly announced auto strategy will transform Canada's auto industry, protecting our workers today and building the vehicles of tomorrow?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Member of Parliament from Mississauga East Cooksville for his unwavering support for auto workers and the sector. Canada's auto workers and workers are the backbone of our economy, and when our auto sector workers come under attack, our government stands with them and protects them. So today, the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Industry announced Canada's new auto strategy, taking action on what we can control. We're investing $3 billion from the Strategic Response Fund to support the industry, $570 million to support reskilling and upskilling workers. Mr. Speaker, this is how you build Canada strong. We stand together when times are tough, and
the Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
This Liberal minister says that they stand with auto workers. What it looks like is they stand with Donald Trump, because while Donald Trump imposes 10% tariffs on every single vehicle that comes into Canada,
start over. The member may start over. I didn't see anything unparliamentary in that. The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The Liberal minister just said that they stand with auto workers, but it sure looks like they stand with Donald Trump. Let me explain. While Donald Trump imposes 10% tariffs on every single vehicle that comes into Canada, these Liberals have passed an EV mandate that is actually going to give Canadian taxpayer dollars in the form of subsidies to American-made EVs. You actually can't make this up. Less than 5% of Canadian vehicles will qualify for this EV subsidy. Why are they contributing to Donald Trump's Buy American instead of preserving jobs in Canada?
Minister, Secretary of State, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If that member and the party opposite thinks that we are on the wrong side of Canadian sovereignty, they've got another thing coming. Our approach is all about Canadian sovereignty. It's all about investing in the companies that invest in us. It's all about embracing the future of electrification. It's all about embracing our workers, who are the best workers in the world. And for the members opposite to talk down Canadian sovereignty or to talk down this sector at this moment of real challenge when we've got an opportunity to solve it is really beneath them.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
A little bit of education for these Liberals, Mr. Speaker. Less than 5% of vehicles manufactured in Canada will qualify for this EV rebate. The rest will come from the United States and other foreign manufacturers. But imagine you're the auto worker in Brampton who was supposed to manufacture the Jeep Compass EV. That job went to the United States. That Jeep EV Compass being manufactured in the United States is actually going to be subsidized by your taxpayer dollars. If you are that auto worker in Brampton, you are looking at this Liberal government and how this is going to benefit Donald Trump and saying, what the hell is going on in Ottawa?
We just have to watch our language a little bit, though. We just have to watch our language. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll tell you what the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association has to say about today's announcement. We welcome the government's automotive strategy announced today. Funding to support renewed purchase incentives and a robust charging infrastructure strategy will help continue to drive EV adoption, and CVMA members are well positioned to support this shift to electrification through diverse product offerings. That sounds like Canadian sovereignty to me, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Northumberland, Clark.
Mr. Speaker, in 2014, under the then Conservative government, the New York Times declared that Canada's middle class was the richest in the world. Now our middle class faces skyrocketing costs and taxes and a stagnant GDP per capita and a declining standard of living. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing G7 economy by building major projects. However, the major national project, they built none. And they continue to build none. The time to act is now. When will they collaborate with Conservatives and finally bring prosperity back to our great land?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I have good news for my friend. Today, Trans Mountain just said they will be increasing the amount of oil they transport by 10% on the first of 3 optimization projects. That's how we build Canada.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Clark.
It always worries me when this government opens up, we have good news, because it rarely is. What we're asking for, what Canadians want, are new pipelines, new projects, and the amount that they've approved, absolutely zero. This government needs to reverse course that has led 2 million Canadians to food banks, admit that their policies have failed, embrace conservative principles fully, and collaborate with Conservatives to bring prosperity back to our country.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they keep asking for pipelines. We just gave them one. We're building thousands of jobs in Darlington. We're building, they're not.
The Honourable Member for Niagara South.
Mr. Speaker, Bloomberg reports that Canada's economy is on life support. Canada's GDP growth was zero in November. Productivity continues to fall, and the Bank of Canada expects that just 1% growth next year, with business investment being postponed. How bad is it? Home builders in Niagara have laid off 60% of their framers due to stalled residential construction. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, yet growth is stalled. Will the Prime Minister please adopt conservative ideas that remove barriers so Canadians can actually build and grow again?
And Massa had to sweep up.
Well, I know what constitutes good news for Canadians does not always constitute good news for Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. But let me give them another piece of good news. The first major national project this spring breaks ground, le port de Contrecoeur, une expansion de 60%, an exposed container port capacity, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build more stuff. We're going to put more stuff on boats. We're going to send more things to more places around the world, expand our trade, put people to work, and build Canada.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Springwater, Rural Medonte.
Mr. Speaker, Canada made international headlines this week, with economists stating that our economy is on life support and the country is already on recession watch. Right. Our per capita GDP is falling, residential construction is flat, businesses are postponing expansion, and this Liberal government's anti-development laws and taxes remain in place. Will the Prime Minister work with Conservatives and introduce a plan to remove the barriers that are preventing Canadians from building, investing, and working?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, speaking of building, we're building big. The Port of Montreal expansion project is 7,000 construction jobs and over 1,000 permanent. Amazing. Darlington Nuclear is 18,000 good-paying jobs and clean power for generations. LNG Canada and BC mean thousands of jobs in Canadian energy reaching new global market, Mr. Speaker. That's cranes in the ground, paychecks in pockets, and Canada building big.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister sells himself as a master of economics, yet Bloomberg reports that our economy is on life support. The Bank of Canada expects economic growth to shrink in the last quarter and only grow by 1.1% this year. Canadian workers want to build and produce, but the government is holding them back with their anti-development laws and high taxes. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, yet he hasn't delivered, and Canadians are paying the price. When will he listen to our ideas and introduce a plan that gets his government's barriers and tax burdens out of the way so Canadians can build?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Northern and Rural Development.
For 10 long years, the Conservative from Saskatchewan said Canada was broken. Yes, they have stifled the opportunity that Saskatchewan had in potash and uranium, oil and gas, Mr. Speaker, and the list goes on. Well, Saskatchewan's on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we're going to work hand in hand with Saskatchewan, join the rest of the country, and build a great future. This is about economic and social justice for Saskatchewan. We are going to deliver that, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, according to Bloomberg, Canada's economy is on life support, and we are now on recession watch. Growth has stagnated, and real GDP is expected to decline. Forestry and logging are down 2.8% for the third month. While the Prime Minister cannot deliver on his trade promises, sawmills in Yellowhead are paying the price. Since the Liberals love our ideas, why don't they remove the industrial carbon tax, fuel standards, and anti-development laws so Canadian businesses can succeed?
The Honourable Minister for Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, the contrast couldn't be more clear. We like to build, they like to block. We're building our auto sector with the new auto strategy. They're blocking. We're building affordable housing. They are blocking. We are investing in defense. They are blocking. We're making life more affordable for families with the GST tax credit. They are blocking. We like to build. They like to block. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sudbury East, Manitoulin-Nickelbelt.
Write him up, Jim. Mr. Speaker, the latest data from Rosenberg Research is deeply concerning. Manufacturing output is down, forestry has declined for 3 consecutive months, and paper mills in Northern Ontario are closing. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. Instead, his government has failed to remove a single anti-development policy. When will this government adopt our plan to restore economic growth by reducing red tape, lowering taxes, and allowing Canadians to invest, work, and build?
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as the former Premier of Alberta said, you can't deal with the reality of the tariff threat by pretending it's not there. But the Conservatives would rather obstruct. We have $2.5 billion allocated in Budget 2025 to attack this problem. Please support the budget.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton Mountain.
Speaker, we recently hit 100 days since Build Canada Homes was launched, and we're already seeing real momentum on the ground.
Wow.
Projects are moving faster, partnerships are coming together, and communities are seeing concrete progress on affordable housing. Would the Minister for Housing and Infrastructure please update this House on all we've accomplished and what more there is to come?
Yeah. What a great...
Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A big thanks to the member for the question and her great work. We have got right to work with Build Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker. Since the launch, we've been signing major partnerships with provinces and cities. We have 6 major development sites on federal lands. We are delivering over 7,500 homes with over tens of thousands more in the pipeline right now, Mr. Speaker, with the Build Canada Homes
The
Act,
6 sites on federal lands is the notable.
this morning, which we expect the support of this House on. We're establishing a lean, efficient agency that is 100% focused on delivering affordable housing for Canadians. We ask for your support. All members of the House.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Westka. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we are seeing another Liberal IT fiasco. The system to administer old age security has gone from costing $1.75 billion to $6.5 billion. And even worse, 93% of civil servants are giving it a failing grade. Employees are being ordered to not criticize the software when they talk to the public. Mr. Speaker, how could this fiasco happen? What is the minister going to do about this software? Did the minister sign off on this irresponsible spending?
60-year-old system is not an easy task, and I want to start by thanking the employees at ESDC who are working so hard to make sure that seniors get their benefits on time and in accuracy. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, that's exactly what's happened. 98% of the cases are through, and I will say that we are working diligently on remaining outstanding cases where people have not yet received their benefits who have signed up to do so. If that member opposite has an urgent case, or any member of Parliament has an urgent case, we can accelerate those cases in situations where people are in dire need. Please contact my office.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Westka. Mr. Speaker, departmental employees are telling us it's not working. Our seniors built our country and paid taxes their whole lives. And now some of them are waiting up to 8 months to get their money. I'll give you a concrete case. Mr. Martial Lavoie in my riding. He's still waiting for his check. He actually delayed his retirement because at the time there was a labor shortage. So he kept working, and now that he's finally trying to retire, he can't get his money. Mr. Speaker, what would the minister say to Mr. Lavoie? He's listening right now.
We are happy to help any senior that finds themselves in dire needs. And as I said, we are making progress. This is a very small percentage of the over 7 million Canadians who have been successfully transferred to the CURM system. This system, Mr. Speaker, brings us into the modern age, what Canadians want. In fact, seniors can now apply online and have a fully automated process to get their benefits started. In these cases where things have been done in the old way with paper forms, often there is missing information. There may be other challenges. We have put additional resources to ensuring we get through those cases, and we can help members just like Mr. Lavoie.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lebinière. Mr. Speaker, not only is this government stealing land from farmers, it is also closing agri-foods research centres, such as the Sainte-Foy Centre in the riding of the member for Louis Hébert, which is one of the 7 agri-foods research centres that the Liberals are arbitrarily closing. Canadian science and innovation is built in these centres, which help us be more productive. How can the Prime Minister justify his decision to prioritize consultants and foreign projects rather than our homegrown expertise that feeds Canadians?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It warms my heart that the Conservatives are now concerned about science and research.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy to reassure them that the federal government will continue the largest agriculture researcher in this country. In fact, just last month, Mr. Speaker, we invested $9.7 million with the government of Saskatchewan in science and research. We're not going anywhere. We still have 17 centres across the country. We're going to work with our stakeholders. We're going to work with academia, and we're going to make research better than it ever has been. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Nunavut.
In Rankin Inlet, the NDP caucus heard from one Inuk who shared that he has waited for 11 years for a house. There are 17 people in his 2-bedroom unit. His story is all too common in Nunavut. The government is acting on what I've told them. Nunavut will receive 50 more homes added to the 700 originally promised in the budget. This is a good start. Will the minister keep working with Nunavut to address the worst housing crisis in Canada?
You're here. The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for her question. I'm very excited to share that the Government of Canada, the Government of Nunavut, and Nunavut-Tungavik Incorporated reached an agreement to deliver up to 750 homes in the territory there. Build Canada Homes will lead this work using innovative factory-built components to get homes ready faster. We're prioritizing Canadian materials, we're supporting Inuit-owned businesses, and creating lots of job opportunities and training opportunities. This partnership will make a real difference on the ground. I thank her for her leadership and helping bring more homes to Nunavut that are much-needed affordable homes, and I encourage all...
Yeah, 750 is pretty big for that very low population.
Good news, Mr. Speaker. Canada's energy regulator has rejected Brookfield's plans to send Canadian hydroelectricity to the United States with almost no benefit to the people who live here, and has instead recommended a full licensing process and review. But the final decision still rests with the Minister of Natural Resources. So will that minister commit to accepting the energy regulator's recommendations and ensuring that Canada's national interests always come first?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Let me reassure the member across the aisle that our government is working closely with the government of British Columbia to build an affordable, reliable, and clean electricity grid that meets the significant surge in demand we are expecting in the years to come. As the member opposite said, this matter is currently before the Commission of the Canadian Energy Regulator, which makes its decisions independent of the federal government in the best interests of Canada's ability to needs.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
The state of emergency in Cross Lake, Pimicikamak is now over 40 days long. The Army came, made recommendations, and left. And where is the federal government? Still brainstorming solutions. Meanwhile, evacuees remain stranded in cities without adequate supports. When will Ottawa move past talking points, at a minimum implement the Army's recommendations, and uphold their constitutional responsibilities to support people returning to a safe home?
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
I can assure my friend across the aisle that emergency management, our department was in contact with that nation from the commencement of the power outage. We've worked, as has Indigenous Services Canada, to make sure that firstly we sent the Canadian Armed Forces, and secondly that there were sufficient people on the ground to help evacuate and provide benefits to the region. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As International Development Week comes to a close, I know I and many of my colleagues in this place have met with dozens of frontline workers from development organizations who are reeling from the broken promise. During the election, the Liberals promised, the Prime Minister said, quote unquote, we will not cut foreign assistance. We will not cut development assistance. And the budget showed a cut of $2.7 billion. We used to be known in the world. Lester B. Pearson, as former Prime Minister, set the global target for development assistance, and yet here we are falling through the cracks, not delivering. Will the Minister commit to reviving the Pearson target?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, we remain committed to our long-standing international assistance priorities. We will continue to fight poverty, to support gender equality, to strengthen health, food, and education systems, and build climate resilience. We will continue to deliver urgent humanitarian aid abroad. And, Mr. Speaker, the measure of our work is in the partnerships we build to deliver development outcomes at scale. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, that was meaning. You know it's the end when MP May comes on.
Thursday question.
And
now here we got Andrew Scheer speaking up about something.
As is usually the case on Thursdays, as is always the case.
Andrew Scheer's speech to the throne.
Opposition House Leader, Honourable Opposition House Leader, has a question for the Honourable Government House Leader.
Oh, here we go. Let's see it.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it is the case, and I believe CPAC refers to this moment as the crown jewel of their weekly programming. And because it is Thursday,
it is my crown jewel.
The Government House Leader can update the House as to the business for the rest of this week and into the next week, and wonder specifically if the government has had the time to analyze and absorb our leader's letter calling for concrete, common sense proposals to not only deal with the cost of living crisis, but also strengthen Canada's position against things like unfair tariffs. Ideas like getting rid of the capital gains tax on investments that are reinvested into Canada. I wonder if we can see legislation on that, rather than a complicated rebate scheme that will see Canadian tax dollars go to subsidize the purchase of foreign-built EVs. If we can expect any legislation that would include getting the Conservative idea of getting rid of the GST on all Canadian-produced vehicles. Those are the types of concrete measures that will not only lower the cost of living for Canadians, but also help build our economy. So will the government take us up as we extend our hands across the way for common sense solutions? Will he take us up on that offer, or will they once again double down on failed policies of the past?
Well, the answer will be not direct.
Well, there's a lot to digest in that, but I am, if what I hear, and I think all Canadians will appreciate this metaphor at this time of year, if I hear the faint sound of the ice cracking in the wall of Conservative obstruction that this Parliament has encountered, the obstruction of our criminal law legislation, the obstruction of the Prime Minister's economic plan to bring $1 trillion of investment and to build Canada strong. If what I hear is the faint sounds of that dam cracking, that means that spring might be on its way, and the opposition may put down their tools of obstruction and join us in building our country strong. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon we will continue with debate on the opposition motion brought forward by the Bloc Québécois. Tomorrow we will have the debate on the standing orders and procedure pursuant to Standing Order 51, a very hotly awaited moment in the parliamentary calendar, Mr. Speaker. On Monday of next week, we will call Bill C-10, an act respecting the Commissioner for Modern Treaty Implementation at second reading. I would also like to inform all honourable members that next Tuesday and Thursday shall be allotted days.
On Wednesday, we will begin second reading of Bill C-20, an act respecting the establishment of Build Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker.
Hey, Build Canada Homes!
My honourable colleague, the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, and the Minister responsible for the economic development in Canada for the Pacific. Finally, Mr. Speaker, there have been consultations amongst the parties, and I believe that you will find that the House will give unanimous consent to the following motion. That notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice of the House, at the conclusion of oral questions on Friday, February 6, 2026, the House observe a moment of silence for the late Honourable Kirsty Duncan. That afterwards, a member of each of the recognized parties, a member of the New Democratic Party, and the member of the Green Party, each be permitted to make a statement for no more than 5 minutes to pay tribute, and the time taken for these proceedings shall be added to the time provided for government orders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All those who oppose the Honourable...
There you have it, folks, the weekly statement. And like Andrew Scheer said, that is the highlight of the week, that question. Now, I ate. I shouldn't have eaten while I was filming, just in case. So I'm probably not going to do my exercise. I'll wait for it. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. This Canada Homes Act, it seems like it's a start. But that's about all we got going on with that. It's a start. Okay. And what it is they've legislated, formalized. It seems like. I didn't read the whole bill. I just read their